Hello, welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. This is my episode 6 of the Mandalorian Season 2 review. Oh my god! It was amazing. We're just going to talk spoilers today because you can't talk about this without going into spoilers, and because I keep inadvertently putting spoilers by accident, people keep getting annoyed. So we're just all spoilers, whatever, all spoilers today. Really, really good episode. Really good episodes. I'm trying to figure out what the name was again. I can't remember what the name was. This episode did an awful lot right, I think. It's brought what fans of like Boba Fett and things like that really, really liked into the new canon and kind of pushing it outwards. So much happened in like quite a short space of time. This is the shortest episode, and it has one of the best directors, Robert Rodriguez. And I didn't know that until the end. And watching this episode unfold, I'm like, that is epic cinematography. That is great fight choreography. That is great framing. And then it popped up with Rodriguez at the end. I was like, well, there you go then. That's why. It was really good. Actually, some of the best cinematography as yet this season. Second only to Bryce Dallas Howard, actually. That episode was really, really good. So, what happened? Well, they didn't drag it out. Alright, they didn't drag it out at all. Last episode, we learned that Mando, Din Djarin, whatever his name was, has to go to Tython, the Jedi homeworld. They go there straight away. Not without some fantastic, kind of sympathetic opening, I guess. Nurturing its emotional heartstrings is what they open with. So when you close, you really want to see the next episode. So basically, they open with Mando and Grogu, the child, on the ship, and him going, Grogu. Ha ha ha, and obviously liking the fact that he's responding to him now. That was really, really nice. It was heartwarming. And then they play with the ball again, the shiny, I mean, it's a piece of the ship, isn't it? But they play with that, and it was really good. All of that was great foreshadowing. The ball, the use of the Force, Grogu, the name, the bond between the two. Really, really good foreshadowing, because they go to the planet, they see this structure, the seeing stone that he has to go and put him on and reach out with the Force, right? That worked really, really well. That's what happens. But then they get visitors. Who pops down and visits them? Oh, it's only Boba Fett. It's only Boba Fett. Oh, with the woman who was in the first season that everyone thought was dead. And basically what happens here is Boba Fett goes, look, Boba Fett goes, look, I want the armor. If you give me the armor, I guarantee you and the child safety. And that was very specific wording, and I did think that was oddly specific because it comes back at the end. And before any deal can be struck, because Mando does actually lay down his jetpack, which is convenient for what then happens. So he lays down his jetpack so they can have the discussion about the Mandalorian armor. And essentially what then happens is a bunch of stormtroopers land, obviously after the child, because who's there in orbit? Moff Gideon. Epic fight sequence comes out of it, and then all the stormtroopers flee. We'll get on to the nitty-gritty details in a minute, but all the stormtroopers flee. In the fight, Boba Fett takes the chance to take his armor, so he just takes his armor, basically. But the deal's still there. So he takes the armor. As the stormtroopers flee, Boba Fett sends a jetpack off, a rocket off, blows them all up, and then Moff Gideon launches the Dark Troopers. They go and take the child, and then that's basically the end of the episode. But let's touch on what was done so well and what was so good with callbacks and foreshadowing and things like this. So, in terms of like Grogu being placed on the Seeing Stone, he gets placed on the Seeing Stone on top of this mountain, this temple, and he then starts to reach out with the Force, and this kind of blue beam goes above his head, all surrounds him. It's like a force field, basically. And when, Boba Fett comes down and all the stormtroopers come down and these kind of things, Mando does try to get him, but he gets pushed back, obviously with the Force and this protective shield. But he does it a few times, and I didn't like that, because obviously it's not working. But I do like the fact that they persisted. It's kind of like a love-hate. I like the fact that they persisted because it goes to show, like, people would keep trying, wouldn't they? In desperate times, they would actually keep trying. They wouldn't just resign themselves to going, oh, crap, I can't get you then, whatever. You would actually keep trying. But it's a catch-22 because played out on film, it does look a bit dumb. It's like, we haven't learned your lesson. But obviously, they really care for one another. He really does want to save the child. So that happened. The discussion with Boba Fett was an interesting one, and towards the end of the episode, that's when I was a bit like, why didn't you say this at the start? So the discussion between Mando and Boba is, are you Mandalorian? And he's like, no, he doesn't say no. He says, I'm a simple man trying to go through the galaxy like my father before me. I like the "like my father before me" comment because obviously it's a callback to the original trilogy, which was really, really nice. But obviously because he doesn't say he's a Mandalorian, Mando, Din Djarin, doesn't give him the armor back. But then by the end of the episode, he pulls up a coding in the armor, Boba Fett does, and shows Din Djarin that his father was a foundling. Jango was a foundling. So technically the armor does belong to him. And I'm just like, well, why didn't you say that then? Like, all of this could have been avoided. What are you doing? So that bit annoyed me. But the whole episode was fantastic. So I'm nowhere near annoyed because the whole episode was so good. The fight choreography, oh my god. The fight choreography. They have made Boba Fett actually a formidable person now. Like, he's actually good. Bearing in mind, in the original trilogy, he was nothing. Like, we can all agree he was nothing. He rocketeered himself into oblivion, right? Like, he wasn't very good in the original series, the original trilogy. And in the expanded media, he was brought up. We were shown why he was so formidable. Because fans really liked Boba Fett. And then, obviously, the expanded media latched onto that and was like, well, let's make him what he is in the eyes of the fans. But in this episode, they show you why he's formidable. They show you why he's formidable. Finally, at long last. And I'm all for that. I believe he's wielding a sand people weapon. I think it's a sand people weapon. But he smashes stormtroopers about. And it is brutal. It is absolutely brutal. We see him wielding this close quarter weapon, and he's smashing people around, stabbing them, all this kind of stuff. And then when they lay it down on the floor, like you pan to these epic shots of just like this just battered and like just broken stormtroopers. It's so good. And there was some, just the fight choreography was actually really, really good. And it's just the use of framing, how the camera panned round. Even to when Din Djarin lands on the planet first, and he says, "Oh, well, we can't. We're gonna have to land here and then take the rest in the air, right?" So there's a jetpack scene with him and Grogu. But as he lands, as the camera pans and then loops around him, it's just really good. Robert Rodriguez is good. Like, he is absolutely fantastic with his use of framing and cinematography stuff. So anyway, obviously, they make that deal, supposedly. And when the stormtroopers get blown up as they're trying to escape, they're trying to flee like a bunch of cowards, Moff Gideon sends down, it's a blaster shot, I guess, from his ship. And blows up Din Djarin's ship. So it's gone now. Obliterated, destroyed. But obviously we did see Boba Fett's ship, the Slave 2, I think it is, which is epic. So good to see it back. One of the coolest designed ships in all of Star Wars, actually. I love how it flies and how when it lands, it looks... How it lands it looks like how it should actually fly, but I don't know, I really like it. It was good to see it back. And then when Din Djarin's sort of, looking through all the rubble, he pulls out the Beskar. And I thought the Beskar spear from the last episode, I thought he was going to go walk up to Boba Fett in his armor, which looked really, really good. And I thought he was going to offer a trade, but he didn't. Boba Fett goes, Mando's like, well, our deal's done then. And Boba Fett's like, no, not at all. We said we would keep the child safe. He's not safe. And, you know, Mando's like, well, he's with the Empire now. And he's like, yeah. Well, he's not safe though, is he? Until his review, the deal is not upheld. And I liked that. We also learned some more about Django. He fought in, like, the Mandalorian Civil War or whatever it was. It was great. It was a bloody good episode. And Boba Fett, again, going back to how they made Boba Fett actually a formidable foe, he has rocket launchers in his kneecap armor. That's epic. I like how each individual Mandalorian has different weird little things that they do. Different weapons and stuff. It was a similar sort of armor or weapon, sort of like a weird little sort of rocket launcher to what Din Djarin has on his wrist. But it was in Boba Fett's kneecap. It's really good. It was a great episode. And then obviously we close now with Grogu very much knowing more about the Force. He's there in a holding cell on board Moff Gideon's ship. And Moff Gideon walks through, goes to the holding cell, and there's a bunch of stormtroopers being smashed around by Grogu. Absolutely obliterated. And then Moff Gideon's like, right, well, you know, it makes you oh so sleepy. Sort of taunting him, I guess. And he passes out and he puts him in shackles. And then he says to his lackeys, contact the doctor, tell him we've got our donor. And then that's the closing of the episode. The Dark Troopers were good. They didn't do anything. They only flew down because they're androids. They just flew down and then flew back up. But yeah, they will be a pretty important thing in future. And then obviously we close with Cara Dune and Mando saying we're going to go and spring another criminal who was in a previous episode. I can't remember his name, actually. A famous actor, basically. But we're going to go get him because we need to track down the Empire. And then that's the close of the episode. But it was great. It was really, really good. It shows Boba Fett to be reasonable, but formidable, and not someone you want to fuck with, basically. I really liked this episode. The music was great. The cinematography, I can't go over the cinematography. And I do think the effects were a bit better in this episode as well. Because when the ship came in down on Tython, it was really good effects. Whereas in previous episodes, maybe it's the compositing. So when the ship's been flying over Tatooine or things like that, the colour grades just look a bit dumb. Too much of a contrast between the two, so it looks stuck on. Yeah, it blended nicely. It was a really good episode. Really, really great. Loved it. And I can't wait to see what happens next, because there's a whole lot of stuff they're setting up here. I feel like they are setting up like a big convergence, right? Like a huge convergence. Because Grogu was sat there on that Seeing Stone for a long time. So I think we're going to see a bunch of Jedis turn up. That's what I genuinely think we're going to see. I think we're going to see some Jedis turn up. Obi-Wan Kenobi, actually, is what I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see a bunch of Jedis turn up looking to, obviously, help Grogu because he was on the Seeing Stone for a long time. I think we're going to see Bo-Katan turn up because she's been hunting Moff Gideon. I think we'll probably see Ahsoka Tano because Grogu will probably reach out to her as well. And then we'll see Boba Fett along with Mando all converge on Moff Gideon. That's what I think we're going to see. A big epic end battle like we had at the end of Season 1. I think that's what we're building towards. So there you go. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode because it was bloody amazing. So let me know your thoughts down below. If you're new here, do hit subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.